Hey everybody, here's a Japanese style kitchen set. The steel S30V handles are ipe. Ipe is not my favorite wood to work with. It gives me pretty strong respiratory problems if I inhale it. And for the most part it doesn't have much visual interest unless you get really close, and this camera's probably not going to pick it up. These three knives were to match another knife in S30V and ipe. That's why the materials and the finishes. The finish on the original one was just like this yanagiba, which works perfectly. This finish doesn't really translate to the other blade shapes. So I don't know if you can probably see that on the camera. You see the bevel's not perfect. This is not a collector grade. This is, people are actually going to use this. So that, although these bevels are actually ground on a jig, so they're pretty consistent, the thickness on the flats isn't perfect. So that changes the bevels slightly. And the edge thickness can maybe vary by 0.005 or something, and that will change it. But typically these knives are going to be sharpened by thinning the whole primary. So you're going to lay the whole thing flat on the stone and regrind that. So I tried not to fuss about that too much, otherwise they'd never get done. The nakiri is even worse. If you check out Google Images for nakiri, you'll see their bevels go all over the place here. And there's only about a 2-degree change in here from the flat to the bevel. So that really makes that ridge line difficult to get. I used to grind these freehand, and I guess I was doing all kinds of little twists to compensate for that, to pull that bevel line really nice and straight. Now that I'm jigging them, I've noticed that they're not as straight. Now I can do a finer finish too and work it out, but because these were supposed to match an original finish with the lengthwise scratch pattern on the flats and the perpendicular scratch pattern on the bevels, that was what I had to do. Although the nakiri just could not make it work. And again, you should check out, most nakiris have a pretty wiggly bevel line through there, and I think I know why now. So this one's got a pretty thin edge. I did open my calipers to 20 thou and dragged it across, and that line would come up more than 1/8 of an inch. It's quite thin. It easily flexes over the nail. They're partial tang knives. You can see the glue line there. As I said, ipe looks boring from afar. When you get up close, it does have some depth. If I were doing this again, I'd probably pick a wood that was easier to sand and carve and didn't require me to wear a respirator for the entire process. And probably maybe an AEBL stainless, something with less carbide, something I could deal with the finish. One of the things about these finishes too is the belt is slightly compressible, so it kind of wraps over the bevel and puts wispy little scratches. And then you turn it and do your scratch pattern this way, and it leaves a couple of wispy little scratches along here, so you keep fighting it back and forth. This ridge line is sharper on the yanagiba because it's chisel edge, so it wasn't such an issue on that, which is why the original finish on the original knife was what it was. It's sometimes hard to match stuff, even when it's your own work you're trying to match. There. Thanks.